On the Q2 earnings call, Elon was asked about Giga Mexico and what is going on, and he shared for the first time definitively that the factory is on a pause. It is on hold while we determine the state of the world around us in which to build a factory and see if it makes sense. But did the answers actually ring true, or are we just getting another 2 weeks kind of delay? We're going to discuss that. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Joining me, as he sometimes is so kind to do, is my good friend Herbert from Brighter. If you get a chance, head on over, get a little brighter with Herbert. I do, and I love it. How are you, Herbert?
I'm doing great. The reason people get brighter is because I have people like you on. That's all I do.
You are
flip you on.
Too kind. You're too kind. So, I'm going to just recline. I'm just going to recline today. Now, I am on the road, as I so often am. I'm on my way to San Luis Obispo for the X Takeover this weekend. It's going to be great. You, of course, will be there as well. You'll be joining us this weekend. So come down, find us both. It'll be a lot of fun. So jumping right into it, Elon is saying that it may be because of the tariffs. There's a pledge to jack up the tariffs on these on anything made in Mexico. But does that make sense? I would argue yes, but only barely. We knew that these things were going to be coming. So Elon said Tuesday that the company's plans to build a Gigafactory in Mexico are on pause until after the election because Trump has pledged to slap tariffs on cars made in Mexico. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does, actually. So I think that I know you've been saying it doesn't make 100% sense to you. And I think it's two reasons, right? So you're correct that this pause on Mexico didn't happen just because of the election. It happened even earlier than that. But that's because, right, they were trying to go, okay, do we build the robo-taxi first? Do we commit to that? And if that was what he initially wanted to do, he wanted to build Giga Mexico to mass produce the robo-taxi. Because of the recession, things got slowed down. He then got convinced, hey, our plan is to have these more affordable cars built on existing production lines, maximize the capacity of our existing factories, which is what they announced at the earnings call yesterday. They're going to double it to $3 million, 50% growth to 3 million cars capacity on the existing factories. And so they paused it for that reason. And then, yes, I do believe that this makes sense. If there is a political election, just that alone, companies should pause and try to see what happens. We actually heard that from BYD 9 months ago, right? I can't remember her name. She's the president of BYD North America. And she said, hey, we're not going to build our Mexico plant until after the election. And at the time, I kind of said, she's kind of just saying that because she didn't want to rile up the talk about the tariffs against China imports. She didn't want to stoke that. But it made sense that that's why she's doing it. It makes sense to me that that's Elon's explanation. But I agree with you. It's not, that wasn't the reason they paused it even before the elections were going to happen this year.
Sure, because if you look back, it was February, March of 2023, so we're at a year and a half. Right. The political climate has shifted pretty radically since then, I think. I mean, the front runner from a year and a half ago has announced that he will not accept the nomination. So we've got everything has changed. It was wise, I think, of the head of BYD's, the CEO of the Americas, right, I believe is her title, yes, to say, look, we're our plans, we're not making any plans right now because, like you just said, she didn't want the import tariffs on Chinese owned companies made goods in the Americas to become a political football. No company wants that. So they put it on hold and said, well, we've got some preliminary ideas, but we'll solidify them when the time is right. And I think that was the right decision. So let me ask you this: in a world where robotaxi doesn't exist, mm-hmm, where Tesla's not working, where no one's working on it, do you think the factory would already be underway?
Well, I would have said yes 2 years ago, of course, but the world changed with the recession and high interest rates, which is stubbornly still there, despite this promise that I think the latest stat I saw was that 87% of institutional are predicting that there's going to be a rate cut finally in September, and then even maybe 2 by the end of this year. But rates are still very high. And if you look at the used car rates, they've like, I don't know what the numbers are, 15% or even higher. It's like ridiculous. So clearly it's now having an impact and has been having an impact. And so the demand for cars in general has fallen. And so, yeah, I can see why they paused the factories. But if it revives and you don't have the robo taxi, then I turn to people like you. I need to understand better what is the TAM for the existing Model 3, Model Ys, and the sexy cars, which we have now. And it's not, I don't know if it could, like they just said now, they can grow 50% to 3 million cars a year just on their existing factories. So to commit to a brand new factory, you probably need new vehicle. And even if it's not a robotaxi, but it was a sedan, you and I had many shows on this already. We pointed out that the market for sedans is massive. It's just the next one below SUVs. It's massive. So and demand in the US will be big too. People kind of poo-poo that and they think it's not true, but it will be. So if they were creating a more affordable sub $25,000 sedan compact car, yes, they should build a new factory for that.
So I think in a world without robotaxi, Tesla would be an almost entirely a car company. Sure, they'd have stationary storage. Maybe they'd have some chips or other things. But without the robotaxi, they would be, I think Mexico would have broken ground immediately, just like it did in Berlin and Shanghai and Texas, and that they would have been going gangbusters on that. But that is not the world we live in. And I think the real answer to Mexico isn't politics. I know it's popular and you'll get your tweets will trend if you make a post on X about something that is a hot button issue, even if it's not necessarily the most forthcoming way to frame it. I think the answer is that we're in the middle of a pivot, and you're going to see what it is in just a couple months, baby. Just wait. We're all going to see. We're all going to see. And it will make sense. What we're doing by asking where the factory is probably asking the wrong question. Because remember, this is the guy, I mean, he's supporting the guy who's going to stop his own factory. That's weird. That doesn't add up to me. If there's a piece missing to that puzzle. And then the question is, if you're going to make all the robotaxis or compacts or whatever they are in the US, who are you going to sell them to? Because Mexico's got all the trade agreements that we don't have in the U.S. So I'm a bit confused on that. Do you think those trade deals matter? Are they important?
Of course they are. Like you said, 3 times more trade deals than anything else. So, but so you're I love what you just said there. Just pointed out something very important. The Giga Mexico, you're building a new factory. This is when you're going to use the unbox model. You're going to go start from scratch, build it based on that model. And so the unbox model is meant for the robotaxi. It's meant for the compact car. And so what they've done here is the stopgap is let's build these more affordable cars in the existing factories, and then you will. That's why he said, right, I'm postponing this decision until I see what happens to Trump. But once he figures that out, Elon, he wants to go full on robotaxi. And that's what Mexico's for. So that part is why. Yeah.
And we've got the money to do it. And that's the exciting part, is the cash on hand is now like $31 billion. And that's before we get into some of the more exciting topics. Yesterday, I hope everyone caught it, Herbert and I had a little chat about the XAI opportunity to invest for Tesla. That was a great conversation, and I look forward to having it later today when we actually do it. But there's a lot of question marks on what the cars are going to be and where they're going to be. I don't always think that the most fun answer, which is often the answer we get, is necessarily the right answer. On Mexico, well, you got to say the big thing, even if it's, the secondary thing. We've seen plenty of situations where, like GM says, the reason we can't build a robotaxi is because of regulations. And that's further down the road, Mary. You have to make one that works first. And that's not something they appear to be good at because they've got stuck in a dead end. How much does it matter? What if Mexico is never built? Does it matter?
Well, okay, if you're an investor in Tesla and if you think it's a car company, it matters. Like you just said it. You just said it. But if you're an investor in Tesla and you think it's a robo-taxi company, it matters because that's where you're going to need to see mass production of robo-taxis. And that's, that grows. And like we've been saying here, they're building it in Giga, Texas. But in order for them to do completely, just high scale, they need a new factory. If you count the number of cars that they'll probably need for that. If you think that this company is a bot company, it may not matter. They don't need that much of a footprint. So
no. And that was a big thing we caught on the earnings call was people saying, well, wait a minute. I thought, there's not going to be room in Giga Texas. My friends, these are much smaller than automobiles. I don't know if you know. So I'm excited on that. So what I'm hearing you saying, and you heard it here, folks, first, this is definitive. Herbert knows for sure. But I agree with you is that you believe Mexico is absolutely being built, just not today. It's going to be built as soon as it makes sense, as soon as we know what the demand for the compact or intermediate compact or robotaxi will be. We will then scale to what makes sense, and we will do it right, and we will do it in a way that maximizes the actual production output and profitability.
Yeah, that's what Elon said. Elon said that, he didn't say we canceled it. He said,
Elon says a lot of things. It's our job to read the tea leaves.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's a lot of fun. I keep shaking my Elon Musk magic 8-ball, and it keeps saying 2 weeks. But interestingly, I did finally get one that said GFY. I don't know what that means, but it's shaking. A lot of fun.
Stop shaking.
Stop it. Stop shaking. So guys, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? What are your thoughts? When is Giga Mexico happening? Is it happening? And what are they going to build there? I'd like to know. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual. Head over to Brighter with Herbert. Get yourself a little brighter. Everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and let me know if I should stop saying stay juicy because there's mixed opinions on it. And
I love it.
I should probably hold a poll and abide by the results, but we shall see. Thank you again, Herbert.